guys. This is Brandon from Gearist.com, and today we're here with the CEO of Moji. Now, if you're not familiar with Moji, that's M-O-J-I. You can check them out at gomoji.com or facebook.com/gomoji and twitter.com/gomoji. Definitely check them out. What they are is basically, you guys all know that if you're an athlete of any sort, whether you're a runner, skier, hiker, whatever, you get sore. And you need to bust the collagen and all this stuff off the muscles and kind of flush lactate and all this stuff. You know, Moji is a self-massaging tool that's going to allow you to get in there and really help to repair your muscles. So today, Brian, who has actually only been the CEO of Moji for a couple months, but is a lifetime athlete, he's here to talk to us. So Brian, thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome, Brandon. Thanks for having me.
So as a kind of a matter of a little bit of background, let's talk about you. So kind of give us your background, not necessarily about your pathway to arriving at Moji, but your pathway as an athlete. How did you where did you come from? I mean, were you like a soccer guy and then you wound up running marathons, or what happened there?
Good question. I grew up a team sports guy. I was always a jack of all trades and master of nothing. So I was decent at a lot of sports, but not great at anything. But and I also have a short attention span, so I jumped from one season to another. But I played football, baseball, basketball, karate, boxing, stuff like that. But, a lot of typical team sports. I did not play soccer, lacrosse, or hockey because where I grew up, those didn't exist at the time. But I was sort of a typical team sports kid, very active. But, in adult life, it's hard to stick with team sports and, it's just hard to make it happen. So I became more of an individual sports athlete. So I ski and snowboard and kite surf and run and do yoga and so forth now.
Gotcha. Awesome. And when you got out of those team sports things, and you mentioned kind of when we were chatting before we went on the air here, you mentioned that you have run marathons. Is that kind of was that your first foray into endurance sports, or did you kind of get there in a more circuitous route? I mean, everybody, I would assume, but maybe I'm wrong, that you did 5Ks and things like that leading up to it. What took you out of team sports into more of that type of thing?
Actually, your assumption's not right. I just sort of jumped into it.
Nice.
Which is not very smart. But no, I was really not a runner. Yeah. And 5 or 6 years ago, wasn't that long ago. I think somebody challenged me to run a half with them, and I ran it and just sort of got hooked a little bit. And I haven't done a ton of it since then, but I've run a half dozen marathons and a bunch of halves. So no, it was kind of a random thing. It wasn't something that I worked myself into or built as an endurance athlete. I really never did the endurance thing. It was more, skier, snowboarder, kite surfer. But I dig it. It's just part of being fit. And the great thing about running, and Moji's products are appropriate for runners, but also for products, for any athletic endeavor that leads to sore muscles, which
right.
includes weightlifting and, can include golf or yoga or lots of things. But the cool thing about running is that it's appropriate for all sports. Anybody who's an athlete needs to run in one form or fashion. So I'm getting older and I do it to stay in shape and, get my run on a little bit, do a little yoga, hit the gym a bit. So I'm not super serious about it, but I love it.
Well, so you went from kind of the sports that could break you in a split second to the sports that break you over a period of time.
That's true. Although, snowboarding and kite surfing can break you in a split second also.
But yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
awesome.
Just in different ways. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you were kind of, when you first got into your marathons, your half marathons and all this kind of thing, what was the biggest training obstacle for you? Because, and I hate to ask a question and then talk over you. So,
No.
For me, and I've done Ironman triathlons and all this marathons and everything like that. When you get into that world, it's like you think that covering the distance of 26.2 miles or 140.6 miles, these are going to be the big obstacles. And I was talking to somebody today who was like, "Oh, hey, this is on Facebook. They're like, I'm going to run my first marathon. What do I need to know? What type of hydration belt did you wear? How did you plan your bathroom breaks?" And I'm like, hold on a second. You are asking some really silly questions, because at the end of the day, I told her, I said, your marathon or your Ironman, whatever it is, your marathon is going to be maybe 5, maybe 6 hours of your life. That's it. the training to get there. That's
right.
the important part. And I find out, that like for an Ironman and for a marathon for that matter, for me anyway, because I'm a pretty heavy sweater, the most important thing is nutrition. That's the fourth leg of a triathlon, let me tell you.
Yep.
And then it's recovery, especially as you mentioned, getting older. So for you, what was your biggest challenge when you got into it? Kind of the surprising thing, that you went, oh, well, hell, man, the 26.2 miles, that's going to be a son of a bitch. But then you're like, oh, wait, you mean I have to do 40 miles a week to get there?
Right. Yep. So, dude, the finding the time to train is the tough part, with a busy life. But, but once you get into it, you just hit on the word recovery. And that was it for me. I'm pretty athletic. But hitting 20-mile training sessions and so forth, sore quads and sore hams and big muscle groups like that really hamper training a lot. And I tried to, I've tried to do yoga and stretch it out and foam rollers and so forth. But recovery is a big deal. And it's and that industry, and this is interesting to me as a business guy who's been around the sporting goods industry for a long time. But sort of the massage and recovery space as a sub industry really has exploded in the last 5 years, and really barely existed before that. If you were to go into an REI or a Sports Authority or Dick's Sporting Goods 10 years ago, there were barely any products for recovery and massage, and now there's an entire section. There's a good reason for it.
Do you think that reason for it is, do you think that the expansion of recovery aids, however they might be, and I wonder if there's probably a portion of general massage that can be pulled into this type of statistic, but do you think that recovery aids, again, whether it's a self-recovery aid like a Moji product or like a Trigger Point or something like that, has grown relative to the participation rate in marathons and in general endurance sports, or has it grown kind of independent of that?
I think it's grown independently of it. Running and endurance sports have obviously been growing at a steady clip, but the importance of recovery and the percentage of people who are doing endurance sports who use recovery tools has increased exponentially the last few years. So it's a category that I think the elite of the elite have always known to take care of their muscles and to break them up afterward and so forth. But I think the rest of us who aren't the elite of the elite have caught on the last few years.
Yeah. So when you were training and like you said, I wasn't a runner either. I was in high school. I was a swimmer. I was like crazy fast swimmer and all this kind of stuff. And then I got nice and out of shape and all that fun stuff. But when I did get into running my first marathon, which was in 2009 in March. So I started training in 2008. I was surprised at the things that came up because, my brain goes, and I think most people's do too. They go, big muscle groups. That's what you think of. Oh, my quads are sore. Oh, my hams are sore or doing this, my calves. It's these very general things. But then when it came right down to it, for me, I had this, for my first marathon, I had ITBS, iliotibial band syndrome. And ITBS, the trouble with it, for those that don't know that maybe listening or watching, is that your IT band has no stretch receptors. So to stretch it, and to rock, to kind of get the tension out of it is something that you kind of have to do and trust that you're doing it right, because you can't really feel it the way you can if you're stretching your quad. So the IT band and then the soleus, kind of at the midpoint of the calf below the gastroc and all that, those were big areas for me that I was really surprised by because I just didn't expect it. Did you have any of those things?
The only one that comes to mind is the arch of my foot.
Really?
When, if I would imagine if somebody's wearing perfectly fitting shoes and relaxes their foot throughout a run, they probably don't have issues. But the muscles under the arch of my foot hurt when I ski. They hurt when I run. And, that's one that I never would have thought of. Just to your point, you think about quads and hams and, glutes and big muscle groups. But the bottom of my feet right under the arch hurt me after a long run. And, massaging that out is a huge help.
So kind of let's drop in a little product mention here. One of the massagers, you guys are about to launch 4 new massagers, if I'm not mistaken, as of right now. And as we record this, it's February, the 18th of February 19th, 2015. So you guys are about to drop 4 new products, and one of those is a new foot massager, correct?
Yep, that's right. It's actually 6 new products in total, but 3 form factors essentially. One is called the Curve, which is, we can get into it a little bit, but it's a larger massage product with large spheres, specifically built for large muscle groups like quads and hams. And then a foot product, and then a little mini handheld version. But the foot product, to your point, well, anyway, back up a little bit. So there are those 3 form factors: the Curve, the Foot, and the Mini. And each of those 3 form factors comes in a Pro and a standard version. Pro version being heavy stainless steel spheres that are against your body, and the standard version being a high-tech engineered plastic. So it's really 6 items in total, but really three form factors. But yes, one of those 3 form factors we call the Foot, the Moji Foot, and it's a great little product that sits flat on the floor, has a non-stick bottom so that it doesn't move around, and it's got these rotating spheres on top. Literally, right now you could have it under your desk and massaging the bottom of your foot. And it's pretty amazing little product.
So with something like that, let's touch on the because I'm curious, and I'm looking at your website as I talk to you. The Foot, the Moji Foot that's coming out, or excuse me, not the Foot, the Curve Pro, the big spheres.
Yep.
On that guy, how far above the plane do those balls extend? If that makes sense, just roughly, kind of.
It's well put question. I don't know the answer though. Probably, I don't think we've done that. We literally have measured it, and I don't have one sitting here handy, but probably about a half inch to an inch, inch to 3/4 of an inch above the plane. So there's a stick with a handle on both ends, and you're asking how far the spheres stick out above the plane of that.
Correct. Of
the handheld product, probably a half to 3/4 of an inch. So enough to dig down into your muscle pretty significantly.
Right. So what I'm wondering, and this isn't a muscle group that I've particularly had trouble with, and I kind of wish I had less of this muscle group. But when you're getting into like the butt, the gluteus minimus, medius, maximus, when you're getting into those areas, what one of the, because I would imagine that getting the curve, like, and I mean like real deep. I'm not, obviously you could hit the gluteus minimus, which is great because that's a stabilizing muscle that a lot of people find trouble with, kind of in the piriformis area and things like that, sciatica, things like that, when they're beginning to ramp up volume and things like that. So in the case of the deep stuff, and our let's face it, our asses are a boatload of muscle that's not just like big muscles, like our lats are huge muscles too, but our lats are fairly planar. So they're not deep, but it almost seems like, this is kind of what I'm getting at, like something like the Foot, the Moji Foot, believe it or not, seems to me like that's the thing that if you really want to dig into your ass,
into your ass muscles,
sounds really weird.
It's what it is.
That's the thing to do it with. Or is there maybe a product that you guys are looking at, I don't know, to be kind of getting into heavier, deeper tissues like that? I don't know if I'm articulating that properly, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And I don't know if I have a great answer for you. I think, we have a few tools and people will use them in different ways, and everybody's bodies are different. Everybody's tolerance level for pain is different. And, so I think the answer really varies, but a lot of it has to do with sort of how you hold it. And one thing is, these are, our products are all made to be self-administered, right? So you can massage various body parts with our product, but if you have a partner doing it for you, you get a different leverage point, different, so forth. So if I really wanted my glutes massaged in a hardcore way, you can take that Curve product with the large spheres and get your whole glute pretty well. But if you were laying on a table and someone were behind you doing it, it'd be, even more intense. But the thing is that you asked a question really that I hadn't thought about, which is, so if the spheres are sticking up a half to an inch above the plane, then that's certainly one measure as to how deeply one could massage that muscle. But your flesh is flexible, right? I mean,
totally.
Right?
Yep.
So you can crank down on that thing and push down on your butt. And, it's not just about from the skin in. It's about, pushing the whole thing into your body, as well as, the 3/4 of an inch or so that the spheres are sticking in beyond that.
Gotcha. So kind of a sidebar question to that, getting somebody else to help you and really being able to dig deep with these things. I have to say that my I have the Moji mini massager, and for those of you listening, or I actually might be quite near me, but I'm not going to try to get it right now. For those of you listening, go to gomoji.com and you'll see the Moji mini massager 360, or I think that's the proper name for it. And this little thing, I'm telling you, the first thing is that don't ever get this if you expect your wife not to be like, hey, honey, can you use the thing?
Yeah.
Because it is a time suck sitting there massaging my back. But that's fine. It was just Valentine's Day. I'll take the hit for the team. Right. So,
and she liked it, didn't she?
Oh, God, yes. God, yes. That little thing, the ability of that, so if you're looking at it, those of you listening, please just, again, check out gomoji.com. You'll see right at the base of where the palm section is, one of the balls stands up higher. It's actually a larger sphere, as well as right at the fingertip. And those kind of dig in there deeper. And, when I was preparing for Ironman Chattanooga this past year, the race was in September, I was using that like all the time. And I wonder, just kind of kicking around the Moji office just to kind of see what you guys are doing when you're pretending to work. Do you guys ever call in some just large Swedish lady named Olga and see who can stand to be tortured because look, Moji's products are great. I love it.
Yeah, but Olga's better.
But those things are little torture devices, right?
Yeah,
I mean, if you're doing it right. I guess it doesn't have to be, but You guys ever have any let's see who can hold out the longest?
See who can crank in. We don't, but I like the idea. I'll pay you a royalty for that idea. I like the Helga in the office idea a lot.
You like that? Trademark. Gearist.com 2015.
I haven't locked in the 2015 budget yet, so I need to add that in there. Once a week Helga visit.
A line item for exactly. A line item for in-house masseur. That's awesome. So let's talk about for a second as it relates to product. Let's talk about heat and cold and how you guys are kind of merging into that area. What is Moji doing in that area right now?
Great question. Moji's history is in heating and cooling, actually. Before we got into the massage space, the founder of Moji, Victor Viner, who's really super cool guy, he's in the financial world and happened to be an endurance athlete. He was a triathlete and really appreciated the value of recovery, ice heat and massage. Founded this company and focused an inordinate amount of resources, and I mean that in a good way, on product development. So from 2007 until the last couple of years, Moji focused primarily on heating and cooling products, and Victor and his team truly created best-in-class heating and cooling products for the knee, for the back, for the neck. But the problem is that they were so well made that they were really expensive and were just sort of best in class. So the market was too niche, and the products were too expensive, and you just couldn't make a viable business on it. So Moji sort of transformed over the last couple of years from being all about heating and cooling devices for various body parts into massage, which is less SKUs, no size issues, and just more a broader audience. So it's interesting that I assume that your question was coming from an angle of, how heating and cooling plays into massage. But ironically, Moji has an entire business background in heating and cooling unrelated to massage. But we're huge believers in it. And, the benefits of icing and heating are hugely documented. But we're in these two product lines that we're launching. So we have these three form factors, if you will, right? The curve for major muscle groups, the foot for the foot, and then the mini, which is a handheld that can be used everywhere. Each of those are being launched in a standard version where the spheres are a high-tech engineered plastic, and then in a pro version where the spheres are a high-quality stainless steel. And steel obviously holds heat and cold. So the Pro line that we're about to launch in all three form factors, the curve, the foot, and the mini, are awesome to stick in the freezer, get them cold, and crank down on that same massage with a cooling effect.
Just don't stick it in the microwave.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. No.
My
There are metal screws in there. You blow up your microwave.
Yeah, but it'd make for a fun story.
True.
I smell a YouTube
as long as
video.
it's not my microwave, right?
There you go. Again, line item for a new microwave. You just do that every couple of months. I'm just saying. So are there any products on the horizon at all? I mean, yeah, I think that I've put my Moji in the freezer, the Moji Mini, because it's so small. Are there any products on the horizon that are and if you can't tell, I understand that, but that are potentially like specifically angled toward, I don't know, somehow infusing ice water? I have no idea.
Right.
Because I know that, not to mention another brand, but I know Trigger Point came out with the who is it that I can't remember? Basically, that cylindrical ice roller dealy
Right.
that is really like frosty cold, which don't stick your tongue on that either. I'm like dispensing advice like I'm Oprah out here about what not to do. But is there anything kind of on the horizon for that? Or are you guys kind of keeping it tight-lipped right now?
Yeah, we're keeping things a bit close to the vest. Our focus the company's focus over the last 6 months is really in launching this 2015 line that we're in the process of launching right now. The next line, our next round of product and product development will be introduced to the market this time next year. We're typically on a 1-year development cycle. So we're in the early stages of conceptualizing what that line will look like. And we certainly watch other great companies in the recovery space like Trigger Point and Add a Day and some others. But we're not far enough down the path to talk about it at this point. It's all conceptual. But we will be expanding the line. We're doing great. We're growing. Products are well received, and fortunately, from purely from a business standpoint, and really this applies from a consumer standpoint as well. This recovery and massage space is infinitely larger from a business standpoint than it was 5 years ago. Trigger Point did a great job. Well, even prior to Trigger Point doing its thing, foam rollers, just standard old school foam rollers, got really popular 5, 6, 7 years ago. Trigger Point capitalized on that by doing, kind of a little more hardcore, unique version. And then a lot of companies have jumped into this space. So Moji, Trigger Point, and other players in this space have really paved the way to consumers understanding that this category is important, especially for endurance athletes, and to retailers understanding that this category warrants space dedicated in their stores because it's going to sell through.
Right. So the new devices that are coming out, are these replacing something in the line, or are they just kind of expanding on the line? And then also, what inspired the changes? Like why? Because you guys had, if I'm not mistaken, or still have a foot-oriented product in the line, and to that end, it's pretty easy to turn around and use, which I have done. The Moji Mini for the foot. Believe me, that's a treat also. And by treat, I mean hurts like hell. It's amazing that we're sitting here going, hey, this is going to hurt. Go buy it, right? Exactly. But anyway, what are these replacing anything, and what were these changes, whether they're replacing anything or just kind of coming out? What inspired these new things?
Yeah, great question. So all of the product line that we have launching now are all replacements of product we've had on the market for the last 2 years. We had a Mini. The Mini actually isn't changing that substantially. So the Mini is similar to the 360 Mini, from the past. Right. The foot product completely changed form factor and size, but still the same function. It sits on the ground, non-slip surface, and you put your foot down on it. And then the Curve product that we're launching is a replacement for what we called our 360 before, which is a long, long stick-like product. So Moji's 2015 line that we're in the process of launching now are all replacements and just upgrades essentially from what we were doing over the last year or so. Well, I'll get in a second into what inspired those changes to your question, but. We're really happy with what we're launching now. These products will ride for quite some time, probably a few years. So whatever we launch in 2016 will be completely additive to what we're doing now. They won't be replacements.
I see.
Because we've spent a good year sort of developing these products. One of the major things that we've changed in this current line, we made them smaller, more portable, lighter, And we made them less expensive. And that's a big deal because we want to hit price points that are applicable to more consumers and, just more affordable to people. Another big change is that we historically have sourced everything in China, like most companies in our industry. The new 2015 Moji line is 100% made in the USA.
Oh, very nice. Where is it manufactured?
In the Chicago area.
Awesome. That's excellent.
Yeah,
and
it's really cool.
And you guys are sponsor of the Chicago Area Roadrunners Association, or Running Association, rather.
Yes, that's right.
That's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, it's good. It's a very sort of homegrown story, and all the employees are from the Chicago area, and a lot of local presence here. A lot of trainers and gyms in the area get seeded with product, and even our new manufacturers in Chicago.
Yeah, that's awesome. Kind of an anecdotal story that I applied kind of this a similar technology because I don't think that you guys existed at this point. I'm not sure. I can't remember my timeline, but my grandmother, God rest her soul, she when she was going through, it was either chemotherapy or radiation. One of the big things that she ran into, and she was older, she's 80 something at the time. Mm-hmm. She would have her muscles would just go crazy. And they would be horribly uncomfortable. I think it's akin to like restless leg syndrome, if you've ever had that, or that garbage, your legs feel like garbage. You've gone for a long run and then you're in the middle of the night, they get all twitchy. Mm-hmm. So she kind of described it like that. And so at the time I had a stick that I didn't use because I had a foam roller that I had gotten into. And so I gave that to her. And she loved it. So, I mean, is the medical space along those lines something that you're looking at particularly? I think about things when my wife was in the hospital for something and they had to put those kind of graduated compression boots that were doing the kind of moving air thing around to stimulate healing and things like this. Is this an area where Moji has looked at all?
So from an applicability and product efficacy standpoint, we are really well suited to that space. Yeah. But from a business standpoint, it is far down the list of what our targets include. That medical area is just complicated, and insurance and all the stuff that goes along with it. Physical therapy and massage therapy are two areas that we absolutely will be focused on and trying to build our credibility in that space and seeding products to physical therapists and massage therapists. So we'll be focusing on that channel, but the medical channel beyond that is just a bit too complicated for where we are right now, which is a little ironic because our founder, Victor, is an MD. But,
oh, really?
Yep. He, in fact, a lot of what's behind Moji's product development is a combination of sports and medical input to the development of these products. But yeah, the medical space in and of itself with the insurance and all that stuff isn't really on our target list. Yeah.
So is Victor still involved in the direct product development?
Yeah, very much so. In fact, he's in the financial industry. He's busy with other things, which is why he brought me on to run the company. But the one area in which he stays heavily involved is product development. He's very passionate about it. This is a very product-oriented company, for sure.
Yeah. And is he still an active triathlete?
No, I don't think he trains. I know he swims and he runs, but I don't think he competes any longer.
Gotcha. He seems, so he's an MD who started a company, who's in the financial industry, who's also a triathlete. Dear Lord. Is he off climbing Everest? Is he and Felix Baumgartner?
He's clearly an underachiever.
Yeah. He and Felix Baumgartner off jumping out of a balloon from the stratosphere or something.
Yeah, similar. Yeah, exactly. He's an MD, MBA, runs a hedge fund, and does this for fun on the side.
Oh, yeah. Very nice. On the side.
But one thing I like about that is that he started Moji truly with the intent of helping athletes with sore muscles. He didn't do this for money. He didn't do it because it was a great business idea. His time was better spent on other business endeavors, but he was passionate about it. As a passionate athlete, and he was passionate about being able to continue to compete and train pain-free the older you get.
And how many people work at Moji right now?
Full-time, about 8.
Okay.
And then we work with a few agencies and outside, people. Sure. So it's a relatively small company.
Yeah, that's all. And that doesn't include manufacturing.
That's correct. Yeah.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, we have a lot of outside partners, right? I mean, we have, manufacturing facility and, various agencies and product development firms we work with and,
Right.
tooling companies. There are all kinds of, outside resources yeah, exactly. But full-time employees, it's a small little team, less than 10.
And is everybody there an athlete? I mean, generally speaking, do these people come to Moji because it's a job, or do they come to Moji because they're going, hey, also it's a job, but they're also going, this is something that I'm an athlete. I need this product. I mean, is that the general path?
Yeah, the latter of those two for sure. It's a very there's a culture and atmosphere of passion around sports and around physiology as well. Samantha, who's our head of marketing, was a D1 soccer player at Michigan State. Nice. Scott, who's in sales and marketing, is a natural bodybuilder, a competitive bodybuilder, and we have former college baseball players, and so the whole team are athletic people. And I think Victor probably couldn't say it with, maybe it's an EEOC violation or something, but I don't know if it's illegal to hire only athletes. But
gotcha.
Yeah, it's just part of the culture here is that, we you want to bring on people who have been there, done that, and are passionate about the category.
So you said, is it Scott, your sales and marketing person? Is that who you said?
Yep.
Does he, being a natural bodybuilder, what kind of uptick does, my perspective personally is in the more endurance kind of adventure sports side of things, but in the guys that are, I'm not disparaging people that hang out in the gym or anything like that, but more guys along Scott's line, what does he see as kind of the uptick in usage in that area? Is it more of a barrier? But I mean, because Victor's background being in endurance sports and triathlon specifically, does he notice a different, or is it being picked up quickly, or what's that look like?
Yeah, excellent question. And I have to admit to you, this conversation didn't come up internally until the last couple of weeks. We're about to launch our new product line. We're positioning that line in terms of how we roll it out from a PR standpoint and advertising and retail distribution and so forth. And historically, the focus has been on endurance sports. We're in a lot of run specialty stores and tri stores, and would typically merchandised in areas of a retailer that are about endurance sports. But the conversation that's really that we've challenged ourselves on lately is it's kind of formed around the question: who needs this, right? Mm-hmm. What users have sore muscles and need to work on them? And weightlifting, Scott's a weightlifter and a bodybuilder, and that. People that are hardcore about that need work on their muscles probably more than endurance athletes. So I think it's almost a guilt by association thing. Endurance athletes are pretty product oriented, and they're very astute about their bodies, and there's a long history of that. So I think there's a natural acceptance by endurance athletes about for the benefits of massage and recovery and so forth. But there are a lot of other sports and activities that really need it. And weightlifting and bodybuilding to me is at the center of that bullseye of non-endurance sports that truly need muscle work. When you're maxing out and clean and jerks and deadlifts and all these crazy things these people do, they need to break their muscles up and get myofascial release in between lifting days.
Yeah. Speaking about triathletes and endurance athletes being kind of more product oriented, triathletes, I always like to say that if you made carbon fiber toilet paper and sold it for $400 a roll, a triathlete would buy it if it meant they could get off the toilet 4 seconds quicker.
That's right.
That's your next product is carbon fiber toilet paper. So back to the bodybuilding thing, is there, I'm curious, and I really don't know. I think this is the way that it goes, but endurance athletes, and this is why, like a Soigneur or something in the Tour de France or whatever, they're every day after the race, everybody's getting massaged out, because while the muscles of a bodybuilder versus an endurance athlete, they relatively work the same, but an endurance athlete wants to stay lean and wants to break up that collagen that begins to fill in the gaps, fill in the breaks, the soreness. But where a bodybuilder doesn't want that lean muscle, but it also has to have this bulk. I mean, I don't know the application. I guess I'm just kind of commenting. I'm curious as to how that works, because those guys don't necessarily want to break it up, but maybe it's about target working. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good question. I honestly don't know the answer. I'm not a physiologist and I'm not an expert on either side, but if one's goal is to build bulk, which is very old school, this is, and in bodybuilders probably not the right target. It's probably more weightlifting in general.
Right.
But if one's goal is to build bulk, you're right. You want to build scar tissue and that creates bulk and you don't want to break it up. But I think that's a very old school mentality. Most, people the fastest growing parts of the fitness world are the high, sort of these high intensity, high caliber workout regimens like CrossFit. Yeah. And that, they're not bodybuilders. They're not trying to build bulk. They're really true athletes because, there's an endurance element and sprinting and speed and so forth, but they're doing a lot of weightlifting. And I think a majority of people in that world, in that, sort of the fitness realm where people do a lot of lifting, don't want to bulk up. They just want to get stronger and faster. And getting stronger and faster means keeping healthy muscles. So, maybe there's a very niche element of that, that probably are bodybuilders that want bulk. But in general, people are lifting to stay fit and to be strong, and taking care of your muscles is part of that.
Are there any celebrity kind of, like you're sitting there and you're watching, I don't know, the Knicks game? Does anybody really watch Knicks games? Anyway, so you're sitting there watching.
Yeah, I live in the New York area, and I can tell you that on Groupon there are cheap Knicks tickets almost daily right now.
So is there anybody you guys are looking, like the three people that are watching a Knicks game? Does anybody Spike Lee call you up and say, "Hey Brian, I just saw this person using emoji roller"? Have you guys been surprised by any kind of celebrity sightings with your products?
Yeah, no, we really haven't. And think about why. When people are self-massaging, they're typically doing it in private.
It's not the most pretty thing in the world, Jimmy.
Yeah, well, endurance athletes after a long bike ride or a marathon are probably the exception, where people are getting a massage out in the open. But in general, people are self-massaging in private. And so, if Brad Pitt is using our product, or Hollywood types or great athletes, we probably don't know about it unless we seeded product to them, because it's not something that they're doing out in public.
You do know, now that you said if Brad Pitt is using our product, I have a responsibilation to cut and splice that together to say Brad Pitt is using our product. That's going to be your new thing.
As long as I'm on record as giving the accurate part of that, then we're fine.
Okay, you will be. Wink. Are there any for people in the company? Are there any kind of endurance sports goals? I mean, one of the things that I personally kind of realized when I started treating my body better from a recovery standpoint. And again, this is not, let's look at recovery as a holistic thing, right? It's not just your massage. It's not just your nutrition. It's this big thing. It's sitting in the ice bath when you need to, or the heat bath, depending on your methodology. It is massaging after and before that. Right. And it is the nutrition bound around that.
And hydration. Big part of it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Hugely hydration. Most importantly, I would probably submit. But are there any big kind of upcoming goals that you see? Because when I started doing all these things the right way, I was like, well, hell, now I can do this thing. It's just easier. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's easier to do these things where the limitations of my body were kind of hitting me a little bit before then.
Yeah.
And that's for you personally and for people at Moji in general.
Sure. Well, I'll answer for me personally, and it's not a very exciting answer, but my last marathon was 2011. Did a horrible job training, never did massage or recovery, didn't train properly, and I was really disappointed in my time. And this year I've committed to run at least 2, and I'm going to do them right. I'm not only going to train properly, but I'm really going to use. I mean, I've gotten pumped up about this. I've been in the sporting goods industry for a long time. Running or close to running companies in outdoor apparel and fitness products, and even action sports, products, skateboards and scooters and so forth. Mm-hmm. So I've been around the industry, and my landing at Moji had more to do with my industry background than my sports and as a user background. But it has truly gotten me pumped up and motivated and excited. So I'm going to run some races this year, and I'm going to do it right. And I'll use massage and recovery as a big element of that.
Nice. What races are you doing, if you don't mind?
Well, I just signed up for New York Marathon, but we'll see if I get in off the lottery. But I've got a few industry connections, so I should be able to get in. Yeah. So I'll run New York and I might run Chicago as well. Moji's here, and we've got connections there, and it's about a month before New York, I think, 3 or 4 weeks. Right. So it should be enough time to recover. Actually, that'd be a good test. There you go. I just set my new goal. I want to run Chicago and New York, and in the 2 or 3 or 4 weeks in between, I want to use massage and recovery appropriately, and let's see how well I do in New York.
And if you don't, free Mojis for everybody.
There you go. Perfect.
I have no doubt you'll knock it out of the park. So, I've run both New York and Chicago. New York, I lived there for 9 years in Manhattan. New York, great marathon. It's a fun time, but when you hit that Queensboro Bridge, man, it is like the dark side of the moon. It's just like all you hear is grunting and footsteps and breathing. You're like, I want to die, and then you come down and you're like right at 15 or 16 or something. Right. And Chicago, I loved Chicago. That was actually not my fastest marathon, but I was pacing my brother-in-law for his first marathon, and it was so much fun. I had so much fun at that race. It was great. Cool. So I hope you have a similar experience without the pain that I suffered for the last half of the New York City Marathon. But anyway, so for you personally, what from a brand perspective, from kind of this, I'm trying to think of how to word this. From a brand perspective, what brands, and it doesn't have to be in the endurance sports or even in the sports field in general, but what brands inspire you in kind of your leadership role in the company of where it should go, the messaging that comes out, the tone, because we all know that in the world of digital and social media, tone is so important, and it's pretty easy to get trapped in the trap of saying something where you say it out loud with certain inflection, it means one thing, but when you type it out on a Facebook comment, all of a sudden it means something totally different. What inspires you? Who inspires you as a brand?
Yeah, it's great. Good question. I wish I had a little time to think about this. I'm kind of a brand nerd in a way, academically, really more so than as a user. But I respect big, powerful brands that do it in a big, powerful way, a la Under Armour or Lululemon in our space, or, even car companies or beer companies, or, I respect that. But I like, I'm a bigger fan of kind of sneaky, smart brands in a way. There are, some weird examples that really aren't related to our space at all. But a brand I love is EOS. Think about it. Chapstick's been around forever. People tried, 1,000 companies tried to recreate the formula in that same form factor. And the people at EOS came up with this unique form factor, unique flavors, and they've killed it. It's $1 billion business now. Right? It's a great little short name. It doesn't mean anything. And they built it into a cool brand. Another brand I just thought of in the last couple of days that I thought of when you mentioned essentially talking to the consumer and what your brand ethos is to the consumer. And that's Spirit Airlines. Don't like flying them, but I love the brand. I was just on their website last night, and when I clicked on something and I was waiting, it said loading something awesome, and and then it's just they speak to the consumer in a unique way, and they zig when all the other airlines zag. So I'm a fan of sort of sneaky, smart, it's kind of smart brands, but that do it in just a casual, chill, cool way. I don't like formality in the brand world. I don't like formality in the marketing world. So, Moji is a great test case for that. We make cool products that are not only applicable and efficacious for real athletes that have real sore muscles and problems, but it's useful for everybody. Massage is a great thing. Our little foot massager, it's all of our products fit in a run specialty store for hardcore triathletes and runners, no question whatsoever. But our foot product could work in Bed Bath & Beyond or Macy's because it's a great product that really, imagine, a lady walking in, high heels all day long and what her foot feels like after that. So I'm, we're in the early stages of my presence at this company, and I think the company already has a great beginnings of a really cool, unique brand ethos and brand message But we'll hone that over time, and as we expand our product line and expand our distribution, it'll build into what it's going to be. It's another thing about branding, that another one of my little personal philosophies is that in branding, you have to create branding sort of guidelines and goals, but you can't define exactly where a brand's going to go. You can nudge it in a direction, right? It's a piece of clay. You can kind of mold it, but to some extent, it's going to become what it becomes, because what a brand becomes is what consumers make of it. It's not
right.
It's not the message I want to give about it or the company wants to give about it. It's how consumers receive that and what they think of it. And social media is awesome for that, because people can talk to each other and share, and a brand becomes what it's going to be. So our job is to put out great product, try to get it in front of as many people as possible, and then hopefully that brand gets built into a really cool thing.
Yeah, that's great. I think that so many times, not so many times, but a lot of the time these days, people want to see, brands are looking for, I've consulted on things where people have gone, hey, we want to make a viral video. And I go, okay, well, when you figure out how to do that, let me know so I can retire. It's ridiculous,
Right.
So, but then they're also looking for this story that's new, better, and different. And they want to tell this story, and that's all great, but they totally ignore the stories that are already there, the stories that have been written by the people using their product daily. Now, that's not, of course, a blanket statement for everybody, but a lot of people are doing that, and they're just kind of like bypassing, going, well, this marketing person over here knows better, and this person knows better. Well, guess what? That marketing person is one person with one opinion versus your entire audience or customer base that is writing their own story every single day. So I think that's a really, really healthy approach, and as someone who's seen stuff like that, I really appreciate that a lot. I mean, that's a really great approach to it, I think.
Thank you. And think about the world in which we live now, right? Online. So not just social media, but even rating systems. So you want to buy a product on Amazon. Maybe it's Moji massage product. Maybe it's a pen or a heater or whatever, right? You can look at the 1,000 reviews that have been written about that. You can read what real users wrote about it. I was looking at hotels in Italy the other day. And you can go through hotel by hotel and look at what real people who have stayed there write about these places. That's a brand. That's how brands get built. And today's technology allows for. I think it's a way to kind of cut through the crap in a way, right? Because that single person marketer can't build a brand into what they want it to be. They can only put it out there and put the product out there, and then the public will decide what they want that brand to be.
Absolutely. Speaking, you mentioned EOS a second ago. I have 2 new products for you that you can have this if you want. Okay. One, put EOS spheres in the bottom of the massager. That's all I'm saying. Just put those on there. It may be a little messy, but you can get all your back's chapped. You just rub that right on there. That's one. Nice. And the second one, true story. This has happened here in my house. I have a 4 now. My daughter will be 5 at the end of March. She has taken on several occasions the mini massager, which the mini massager, for those that don't know, there is no backside to the spheres because it's blocked off, right? And it's a flat surface. And
exactly.
There's this strap that goes over the back of your hand. And my daughter has literally put it on her foot like roller skates. So I expect Moji ball skates, or that sounds weird, ball skates coming soon to a store near you. It's like you can massage yourself and then flip them over and scoot home. It's a win-win.
That's cool. I like it.
Distance after a race, your legs are sore. Why not just roller skate home?
So I'll do 2 things after our podcast is done. Number 1, I'll file for a patent on that. And number 2, I'll increase my product liability insurance.
Exactly. Maybe you can get Brad Pitt to use him after he's done using the roller. I like that. So apart from, you kind of being, you obviously playing it close to the vest with what's next. When can we say we're going to see what's next from Moji? If that's something that's not, again, too close to the vest, which I understand also.
No. Timing is no secret. But I want so the what's next beyond our current product is early 2016. So we're a year away from product line expansion. But it's important that I say the line we're launching right now is not yet on the market, right?
Yeah.
The foot product just hit the market a couple of weeks ago. The Curve product will ship next week. The Mini product will ship in 2 weeks. So our new 2015 line, which is a complete revamping of what Moji's been doing for the last several years, has yet to hit the retail market. So we are in the midst of launching our current line. So I'm excited about line expansion in the future, but I'm most excited right now to get these new products in the hands of consumers and being used by people.
Gotcha. And how many let's just say, how many specialty shops are you guys in right now, excluding online retailers and things like that? But how many brick and mortars are you in?
Yeah, a few less than 1,000, probably 800-900 shops nationwide. A lot of run specialty stores, and some there aren't that many tri-stores, but some of those. I really want to expand in bike stores and cycling stores and ski and some other specialty shops. But we're in some large chains now, mostly focused on outdoors. We're in REI and Eastern Mountain Sports and available on Amazon. But starting in, if we do our jobs right, starting in the fall of 2015, so in about September, October, hopefully we'll be in a lot of full line sporting goods stores like Dick's Sporting Goods and Sports Authority and Academy and Dunham's and Big Five and retailers like that. So that's that's our main, channel expansion plan for this year.
That's excellent. And I have to say that, you kind of touched on this earlier, but in general, the price point, I'm kind of trying to look it up here. What is the price point of the new line coming out, like the Curve Pro, for instance, or just the general, the Curve?
Yep. Yeah. Happy to tell you. And it's not on the website yet, actually.
Right.
So this new product launch that we're in the middle of, we've yet to sort of go public with all of it. So the website will be updated in about 2 weeks before product hits stores. But, we have essentially 3 form factors, right? The little handheld mini, the foot product, and the Curve for bigger muscle groups. We make that, as I mentioned, all 3 of those models in these really cool looking orange, high-tech engineered plastic balls, and then we make them in stainless steel. Mm-hmm. So the Mini, Foot, and Curve with plastic spheres is $19.99, $29.99, $39.99. That's Mini, Foot, Curve. And then the Pro models, the stainless steel, are simply $10 higher. So the Mini's $29, the Foot is $39, and the Curve is $49.
And I have to say, so we reviewed the Mini with the steel spheres, and we reviewed it several months ago now. That thing, look, people, it's weird, right? What people want to spend money on. Triathlon in particular is a pretty high median income sport. Running is runners tend to be a little, no offense, runners are cheaper than triathletes in general. They would not pay for carbon fiber toilet paper, but the fact that the Moji Mini, again, which I think is such a versatile product. I'm not poo-pooing like the Foot or anything like that, but if you got $20 to buy, you might or $30 to buy, you might as well buy the Moji Mini for $30, the Moji Mini with the steel spheres, and call it a day, because you can use that for your foot if you want to, that type of thing. Yep. I think that it's the bang for your buck with that thing is insane. And then if you can get your wife to start, you can charge her like $1 every time she asks for a massage. It pays for itself in like a month, right?
That's right. Although if it's from your wife, it's your money anyway, right? But
damn it, that's true. Good point.
Sorry about that. But you're right. And I appreciate you saying that, but it is a great value. It's and that you hit it on the money. Of the 6 items we have, that's our sweet spot. That Mini with the steel spheres, which is a $29 item, is the money item for us. We'll do many hundreds of thousands of units of that thing, hopefully millions this year. And it's really versatile. It's relatively inexpensive, and the benefits that one gets using it are pretty obvious.
I would agree. I love it. I mean, while it's like, I'm talking to you from the kind of living room instead of the office right now because the lighting is better. And it's like, it just stays up here because this is where we're hanging out and watching TV. And even my daughter, who has no clue about massage yet, picks it up and she's like, "Oh, let me massage your back." I'm like, "Glad to, honey." Of course, then I have to pay her again, so it's kind of
right. And then she roller skates away with. We'll have to send you a second one so she can actually roller skate with both.
Yeah, exactly. I should also mention that we are. I don't know if you know this, but we're working with your agency. We're working to maybe hopefully do a little bit of a promo, maybe give away a mini here or there, something like that coming up. So if anybody's watching, you guys definitely make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can be apprised of that, because I'm telling you, and hey, I think we talked about this. I'm not joking. Look, everyone calls everything. We were talking about this. I think we reviewed it. Maybe it was August or September. I don't know. But I think I mentioned it a couple of times after that. There is no better for an athlete stocking stuffer or birthday present. It's cheap. It's small. I don't want to say cheap. It's affordable. It's small. I know we're in February. We're not thinking about Christmas. But if you've got an athlete in your life, whether that's their birthday coming up or not, this is the mini. And I'm not displacing the rest of the line. The rest of the line is amazing. But that mini, as you said, that thing is dope, for lack of a better word. And for anybody that you want to, it's really kind of the gateway drug to the Moji line.
Right, to the rest of the line. Exactly.
Right. So, and shaped kind of like a pill. So see, it works. That was a weird analogy. Scratch that. We'll probably edit that out. Just kidding. We won't. But anyway, yeah, I will. Look, Brian, we're gonna wrap up here, but I'm so glad that you took the time. It's encouraging to see a brand that is coming at things from a very holistic point of view, and somebody that's coming at something, from Victor's point of view. That this is a guy who came at it because he goes, look, here's my problem as an athlete, not necessarily here's a problem that athletes have that I might just look into. This is a guy that does firsthand use, and it sounds like this is a company that has firsthand use as well, or firsthand necessity for a product like this. So it's really great to see that. And again, the voice that you're talking about, speaking from that public relations angle, from that from your social outlets and things like that, speaking with that fun and really just friendly voice. I mean, look, at the end of the day, a lot of brands want to be like the brand, right? And they want to be like looking at an audience versus a brand who is looking at their community, the people around them. You guys are athletes talking to athletes. You're not marketers talking to athletes. You're not, people who don't participate in these things. So as somebody who has fallen on both sides of that line, I have to say that I really appreciate it. And I think you guys have a good thing going.
Cool. I really appreciate the compliments. And you mentioned giving some items away to your viewers and listeners. We will contribute to that all day long. We talked about brand building before, and it's smart business, but it's also just a cool, nice thing to do. But there is no better form of marketing than word of mouth. Yeah. And the fact that you love our product we really appreciate, and we want to get that in the hands of people who watch your thing and listen to you, and they'll tell their friends. We built a great product, and we trust how it'll play out in the market, so we're happy to give them away.
Nice. Well, thanks so much. We appreciate that. And as I've talked to you about before the show, and I'm kind of letting everybody in on this now. Our goal is to have companies back on through the evolution of a product, whether that means we talk to you again in 6 months or whenever, you guys are kind of looking toward the next thing toward first part of 2016, or if it's somebody, maybe it's Victor, I don't know, maybe if he's not off, sailing to Tasmania or something right. on like a 5-foot skiff, who knows, then I don't know. Regardless, we want to be able to check back in with Moji, because you guys sound like you're a brand that's got a lot of kind of proactive forward thinking as to what's going on, where you're going in the market next. And so we're really glad to have been able to talk to you today, and look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you, Brandon. Much appreciated. We'd love
Absolutely.
to do that.
And guys, as I mentioned at the top of the show, and I will mention it again, please go visit Moji. You can do so by going to GoMoji. That's GOMOJI.com. You can also follow them at GoMoji on Twitter and Facebook.com/GoMoji. All their social outlets are on their website, again, GoMoji.com, and you can check that out right there. This episode of the podcast, if you've got any questions or comments about it, if you're listening to us on iTunes, please say hi, what's up. If you want to send an email to info@gearist.com, we'd love to hear from you. Also find us on all our social outlets. If you're watching us on YouTube, leave a comment in the comment section down below. And we look forward to talking to you guys next time. Brian, thank you so much for taking the time today. I really, really appreciate it.
Anytime. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.